Hi everybody. What I'd like to do is introduce you to a program called Screencast-O-Matic. Look it up on the internet and see what it can do. But what it basically is it's screencasting, of which whatever you have on the screen, you can have the video or not, but it provides information to students. And so think about, like, when would I ever want to record information and then share it with students? A lot of teachers are using this in a flipped classroom concept, and we'll be using it periodically in our class too, because I know information overload, but it's a great tool and can be very, very effective even in a pre-K 6 environment. So you can start imagining all the things that you could do with it in helping your students even while they're at home. Okay, so what we're going to focus on this week is technology-wise is digital images in the classroom. This week in lab, we're going to have a theme, and that is Dot Day. And you are going to be going on a dot hunt and taking digital images. And so what I want to provide you with before you have that experience is some tips on how to take digital images. So questions to think about for this would be, how can you and your students take better and more interesting pictures? So these tips that I'm going to share with you today are ones that I think would be very helpful to you, but also they're tips to practice with your students or inform them about. So it kind of depends on the age level of the student, but I can see anywhere from second grade to sixth grade that they would definitely benefit from just knowing, teaching the tips to them. The younger students, I think what you can do is informally help them take the pictures with these tips in mind. So those of you working with our young preschool students this week, we'll see how you get along and see if you're able to maybe practice some of the tips with them. The second question here is more rhetorical for the time being, and that is, how can digital images be used effectively in the classroom? And what are some ideas that you have? We're going to do this activity in lab this week, but how can we build and think about, how can we use digital images in social studies, in science, in math, in literacy? Endless amount of ideas. Okay, so let's talk about tips for taking pictures. Number one is move in close to your subject. Look your subject right in the eye. We have situations where we have taken pictures with family, with friends, and so forth. I think we're better about it now, especially since we take a lot of pictures that people post right away to Facebook and things. But how can we take a better picture by simply moving in closer? You know those vacation pictures that we've taken of family and friends, and you have these people are right in the middle, and then we have these beautiful backgrounds, but we lose the people. We really don't see them. They're better pictures if we move in close and get them right in the eye. Let me give you an illustration. Now, I think both of these pictures are outstanding because what a subject, right? But if you look, I think the one on the right has a little bit more crisper idea of, this young child. And it's like, oh my gosh, you just fall in love with him, right? And so moving in closer gives you a different perspective and gives you a better frame of that subject. Now, I think it's true with people and with objects. So as you think about and what you do in lab this week, if you're going on a dot hunt and trying to find dots, you'll learn more about what that means, but move in close to those objects. Very, very important. Okay? Next one. This one is a little bit different because not all of us use flash at all anymore. We use our cameras, we use iPads, we use tablets, we might use iPods, there's a lot of different ways to take pictures today. Not all of us use digital cameras, but if you're still using digital cameras, and then some people are creative with flashes on phones, okay, think about when we use a flash. Usually we use a flash when we're indoors, when it's darker around us, so that we can see the face of the person who we're taking the picture of, or the thing that we're taking the picture of. Well, in this case, this is an example of, okay, what does it look like outdoors? When we take a picture outdoors, especially on a sunny day, a lot of times our subjects get dark because we have all of that light in back of them. Okay, well, look what happens to the right if we just put the flash on, just force the flash, you know, every picture that we take, and then we see the person's face. The person's face is lit up. Okay, so we never think about using flash outside, but it might be an interesting option. Again, this is maybe, you know, as you think about it, you know, will kids think about it or find this one interesting? Probably not. They'll just take the picture. But, you know, if they're always dark and they missed a great opportunity, it might be something to share with them. Tip number 3 is one that probably will practice quite a bit. Okay, I think this will be the one tip that I would say I will challenge you to try to make this one real as much as possible when you take your pictures. Many of you might have picture taking or photography as a hobby, and I'm sure there's several of you that know a lot more about this than I do because of that. Okay, but one professional tip that most photographers do keep in mind is this one: move it from the middle. Practice the rule of thirds. This one is called the rule of thirds, and why it is when we take a picture, and actually in some of our cameras, even our phones, grids will come up like this. Well, what it's telling you is the perfect picture is supposed to practice the rule of thirds. And what that means is that the objects that you take the picture of, like what you want the focal point of your picture to be, should be in one of these intersection points. Okay, so it's moving it from the middle. Now, probably this example isn't the best in terms of moving that object to the middle, because it looks like when you look at this, the flower is right in the middle. However, we would have a tendency most of the time to take this picture and put one of those white flowers right in the middle. But by positioning them at those two intersection points, you really have a different kind of picture, and it looks really nice. Okay, let me give you another one. Now this one I'm stretching a little bit, but I think it's appropriate because it's Iowa State Week. On this one, this is my favorite rule of thirds picture, because this photographer actually hit on 3 of the intersections. We have something happening in each, in 3 of those intersection points. Now, that's not the goal of most photographs. Most photographs is just move the object into one of those thirds so that it hits either 1 or 2 of them, and that's all. But I think this one's unique. And what this is from several years ago. Iowa State did win, yes, and it was a defensive back getting an interception. You can see the ball clear up in the upper right hand corner there, but right in the middle there we have the thigh of the object that is probably most focal. Most objects would, or most photographers would have just got him and the interception. But by doing that, as an Iowa State fan, you missed most of the story. The story is the Iowa offensive lineman flat on his back, okay, in one quadrant, and then we have a pretty disgruntled Hawk fan in the other quadrant. So you can kind of see how, by using this rule of thirds, you can really tell a story. Okay, so tip number 4, play with the horizontal line. Well, what does that mean? If I use these pictures, I think it illustrates it very, very well. Again, both pictures are beautiful just because of the object, right? But notice when we move the horizontal line up on the picture on the right. What happens is that it just changes the whole picture, and it does look nice. The other thing that I'll point to you is, notice that that horizontal line is at a third basically of your picture. If you would have even put that in the half, it might not have been as effective as a picture. Okay, so play with that, moving that horizontal line. Here's a couple other examples. See that horizon line on the left, and notice even on the right. It's so non-discrete. Just by moving the horizontal line, you can have a better picture. Number 5, this is one I like. I hope you practice this one in lab this week too. All of them, but this is another one that I think you can work on. Shoot from unexpected places or angles. When we typically take a picture, we're always taking a picture standing up, looking at our object. Well, there's some interesting things that you can do. Close-ups, standing at the base of the campanile and looking up rather than just taking a picture of it. I know we all probably can't sit on the top of a locomotive, but it's illustrating, how can we get some interesting things in our pictures. 6, take vertical pictures. There again, with our phones, and so forth, we can do this. Here's one, a horizontal. Again, I think both of these pictures are outstanding. What do you want the picture of? When you take the picture vertical on the one on the right, we get more of the rocks. Notice in both of these pictures, I think it's practicing the rule of thirds. Notice how that lighthouse is in one of the intersection points for both of the pictures. We moved it from the middle, but just horizontal and vertical, have fun with that. Tip number 7, use a macro mode when needed. Sometimes we get this, and that is we want close-ups. On some of your digital cameras, you guys, you have a macro. You actually have a macro lens that it will focus in very well on close-up objects. I don't know if you know what that one on the left is, but that left is actually a muskmelon. That's very close up to when taking the picture. In most, if you go really, really close, you can't get it, okay? Because you can't get it because it's blurry. But if you use the macro, it will work. The last tip that I have is just one, most of us won't use this tip, but use a tripod when you can. Then you won't get the blurred image, you won't get those kinds of things with it, and it will work very nicely for you. Okay? Common errors for photographers, us, the amateurs, okay? Just very, very quickly. Not taking enough images. You guys make sure, it doesn't matter, it's digital. Take a lot, right? So when you're out in lab today, take different shots of your dots. You don't have to take one shot for each one. Not getting close enough to the subject, always taking the same angle. We always stand up when we take our pictures. What happens if we get down on the ground? I'm not saying get down on, but think about high up, low, different angles that we're not. The focus features on a camera incorrectly. This one, a lot of us don't use a camera just so it doesn't pertain to us anymore. But on a digital camera, you're really supposed to just push the flash just a little bit. Then the screen will show if it's in focus, and then you take the picture. So if you're still using a digital camera, think about that. And that last thing, thinking that you have to go to unique places to get unique photographs. You guys, we don't have to. We have interesting photos all around us, especially on the beautiful campus of Iowa State University. So as you examine these and as you think about these, how to take digital pictures this week and beyond, I hope you will find these tips and kind of pointing out some of these common errors helpful for your investigation. Okay? You guys have a great week, and we'll see you in class.